Today's lesson goes along with skill stop number 6, dealing with verb tenses. So we're going to be looking at past tense verbs and future tense verbs. As always, please remember to pause, rewind, and rewatch the videos as you need to make sure that you understand the idea, and email me if you have any questions. Though I'm sure that we all know the difference between past tense and future tense, I'm just going to do a really quick English review to make sure that we're all on the same page. So past tense refers to things that happened in the past, and future tense refers to things that are going to happen in the future. So for this purpose, we're going to have a column of things that happened yesterday for past tense, and of things that will happen tomorrow for future. So just, to make sure we're all on the same page, with the verb to run, if we're putting it in the past tense, we're going to think about if I ran yesterday, then we would say I ran yesterday. And in the future, we would say I will run tomorrow. And I've underlined the parts that change depending on tense, like ran and then will run. Another example would be if we wanted to take the verb to walk, we would say I walked yesterday, adding the ed onto walk, or I will walk tomorrow. And that's a little bit more of a common form that we see of adding on ed for past tense and then adding the will in front of it for future. Now, it's not as simple to translate Hebrew into the different tenses, but I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page in English before we switch languages. So now we're going to take a look at how to change a Hebrew verb into the past tense. As an example, we'll be working on the shoresh katav, which means to write. And here's the chart that breaks down how you would say wrote, which is the past tense of to write, in all of the different word forms that Hebrew takes. So if you take a look at the endings, the model has like the XXX means that's the shoresh, and then you add on that ending to whichever the shoresh is. So for example, katav turns to katavti if I wanted to say I wrote. And katav turns to katavta if you're talking to a boy and you want to say you wrote. You can follow the rest of the chart on your own to see how the words are altered to show past tense. The top half of the chart has all of the examples for singular, so all of those are dealing with one person, either male or female. And the bottom half of the chart is dealing with the plural. Also different groups of either men, women, or mixed. So now go ahead and take a moment to pause the video and circle the correct answer for this question at the bottom. When you see a shoresh and the shoresh has extra letters on either the beginning or the end, choose one, you know that the verb is in the past tense. So you circle either beginning or end for whichever is correct right here. Now we're staying with the same shoresh of katav, but looking at it at how to change it into the future tense. So in order to say I will write, you would say echtav, If you're talking to a boy and you're saying you will write, you would say tichtav. If you're telling a girl that she will write, you'll say tichtavi. And then keep going, yichtav for he will write, and tichtav for she will write. And then the same thing, the bottom half of the chart goes into the plural, which we have a nun as a prefix for we will write, a tav for the prefix, but then also a vav at the end for a suffix for you will write for both boys and girls in the plural. And you can follow the chart the rest of the way down, the same as we did for past tense, to see how everything else is filled in. So, circle the correct answer. When you see a shoresh and the shoresh has extra letters on either the beginning or the end, you choose one. You know that the verb is in the future tense and should be translated as will blank, or in this case, will write. In order to do this next step, which is your homework, you're going to need the page that has the exercise itself on it, as well as, for reference, the charts for past tense and future tense verb forms. Just to help the page not be so cluttered, I only put in half of the chart right here, but you guys are going to be responsible for filling out the whole thing, so just to let you know. We're going to do the first one together because the first one's a little challenging, so I'm going to throw you a line with this. Okay. The directions say, finding the past tense, or avar, and future tense, atid, verbs. So using the charts on the previous pages, which I pulled up here, try to figure out if the verbs below are either in the past tense, avar, or in the future tense, atid. And just to point out, there's a little typo here. It is atid and not adit. So we'll do the first one together. The point is going to be figuring out if it's the past tense or the future tense, and then circling either avar or atid in this column right here. Now, we can pretty easily figure out that we see a vav with we see the u at the end of that first word of shavu, and so we say, okay, it's a prefix. I'm sorry, it's a suffix with no prefix, so that puts us right around here. So this probably is saying that it's something having to do with they in the past tense. And now just to let you know like what to do if you were to need to translate this word. This activity doesn't call for it, but it's a good opportunity for review, and we're going to have to be doing it soon anyway. So we're going to go ahead and pull up the page that you have from skill stop number 2, I believe, that has a list of, or excuse me, skill stop number 1, that has a list of common shorashim for you to refer to. So when you take off the suffix, you're just left with shav, which is only a 2-word shoresh. And if you're scanning this list right here and trying to figure out which word this is, we can't really tell. Because we only have 2 of the letters of the shoresh. So you've got to go back to that Vilna acronym that we remembered, noting that if we're missing a letter, it's either going to be Vav, Yud, Lamed, Nun, or Hey. And then we start plugging in letters to see, like experimenting with what makes sense and what works, and we find out that Shavu means they returned. Because we see that we have a shin and a vet with the vav. The vav was the letter that was missing in the middle. I figured I'd give you guys that one just because there was a lot of legwork required for it. So we would then circle avar. This is a past tense verb. So your job for homework is to go through. You don't have to translate each of these words. However, you have to do a little, you might have to translate a few of them if you don't recognize them and you're not sure whether or not it's past tense or future tense. So here are the resources that you'll need. Go through, circle avar or atid for this whole page, and then we will continue to work on this together in class the next time that we see each other.